On this episode of the Backlog Review, we are looking at Dead Space Extraction on the Wii. Dead Space Extraction is developed by Visceral Games, and it's a on-rails light gun shooter set in the Dead Space universe. This game actually acts as a prequel to the original trilogy that you can play on Xbox 360, PS3, PC, that sort of thing. And for the most part, I really enjoyed my time with Dead Space Extraction. Despite this game being on the Wii as opposed to the Xbox 360 or the PS3, the game actually looks really good. I liked a lot of the character models. The necromorphs look pretty good. The environments are pretty interesting, and they all look really good. It doesn't look grainy or anything like that you might get in other sort of Wii games, including other light gun shooter games. But yeah, overall the graphics in Dead Space Extraction were actually pretty good. Now that's not to say that it's as good as Dead Space 1, 2, or 3, but it's good for what the Wii is able to produce. They actually got a lot of the gameplay mechanics from the original games condensed into a on-rails light gun shooter, which I was pretty impressed by. A lot of it is a focus on decapitating limbs from necromorphs or using psionic abilities to move items and grab ammo and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of different weapons that you can use, from like the plasma cutter or like machine guns, flamethrowers. The variety is all here, and it truly does feel like another Dead Space game. And as I mentioned before with the decapitating of necromorphs, this game is definitely M for mature. It has a lot of gore, a lot of blood, a lot of really gross and weird things. So yeah, just go into it knowing that. It's an extension of Dead Space. Now I do want to mention, I've said it a couple times in this video already, but this is a on-rails shooter. That means that you as the player do not at all whatsoever control the movement of your character. Now these are a specific genre of game, so if you know that going in, you know what to expect with an on-rails shooter. But for some people who are not as used to on-rails shooters, I think it could be a little annoying when there's things like the camera movement, for instance, is all by the game. You don't control the camera, you just control the reticle of the weapon that you're firing. So sometimes the camera will pan over to an object that you might be able to grab, like some extra ammo or an upgrade thing, but then it'll quickly move back. And then if that's the case, you've missed the opportunity to get that item. That can sometimes cause for some annoyances. I got annoyed a couple times when it's like, oh, there's a healing item and I missed it. Well, now I'm screwed. So it can lead to some issues in that regard. But for the most part, I think it's just worth noting that you do not control where you move in this game. And I think that's just important to know so that people know going into it that this game doesn't play exactly like the other games. They do carry over a lot of the mechanics, like I had said, but it is a very different playing Dead Space game. As for some of the issues that I had with Dead Space Extraction, the game isn't perfect, obviously. It's a little glitchy. Sometimes enemies would glitch underneath of where I was able to look with the camera, and then it would cause me not to be able to hit them, and they would just keep attacking me until I die. Or there was one moment in particular where some enemies got stuck behind a piece of level geometry, so they couldn't attack me, but I also couldn't attack them and progress. So that's an issue to be wary of. There's graphical glitches and stuff. That's sort of to be expected. And also, I think the other big complaint I have with this game is its writing. The story is okay. As I've said, it's a prequel, so it's a lot of sort of setting some things up that you see later on in future titles. But the characters in the game, which there are multiple characters, you play as a couple of the different ones, but you're basically this party of 4 moving throughout this ship. And other locations too, but it's mainly tied to a big ship. And the writing between the characters is kind of bad. At a lot of moments, they will just completely flip emotions, and then not even 5 minutes later completely flip back. There's one instance where there's 2 characters that share a past with each other, and they'll go saying like, oh, I got you, man, I got you, we're gonna get through this, to the one guy getting angry at you for rescuing someone else in your party, to 5 minutes later going back to patting each other on the back and everything. And that happens multiple times throughout the story. It just kind of feels like things happen when they need to happen, no matter how the characters are related to each other or what happens. It seems just weird, and it's pretty unmemorable too. But yeah, as far as Wii games go, this is definitely a great exclusive. I believe it actually has been ported to other platforms, but I'm not entirely certain which and under what circumstances those ports are in. But definitely, I think if you're looking for a new Dead Space game, because EA doesn't do anything with it anymore, and after Visceral closed, I don't know who's going to be making new Dead Space games, if anybody. But if you're looking for a new Dead Space game, I would definitely recommend Dead Space Extraction. Again, realize that it's a light gun game and that it's not perfect, but in terms of what's available on the Wii, I think this is a must-own by anybody that's collecting for the Wii. It's not super expensive, and it's a really cool game that you can get a lot of enjoyment out of.